Welcome to the pre-show.
Welcome to the pre-show.
Greg, today we are recording on March the 8th. And our guests today are both returning guests. We have Vin Rock from hip-hop group Naughty by Nature. And we also have Gregg, who works with Vin Rock. Not you, Gregg.
Not me.
Yeah,
and he works with others too.
He works with others as well. And we're going to be talking about NFTs and the Metaverse and what this all means to the music industry and to music fans.
I'm looking forward to this because if you know me, you know I'm a bit of a skeptic.
Yeah.
Now, as I've said before, do I believe NFTs will be the same thing in a year or two? No, I don't.
Right.
Do I also believe that NFTs can help artists? Yes.
Okay.
Are there some challenges that I'm going to talk about that have been brought up by other people about NFTs today? There sure are.
Oh boy. Oh. Are you going to be like a shit disturber today?
No. Just we have a question from a Never Time listener, Never Time caller, who I'm just kidding. I don't know. No, Natalie Muir has asked a question that she'd really like an answer to.
Okay, Natalie's our website master, our webmaster. Is that Natalie?
She should be, yes.
She should
because I suck at it. Yeah.
So before our guests come on, it is International Women's Day. We've had the opportunity to speak with just some great guests who are women, great women. Why are you laughing at me?
Go ahead.
And so I just wanted, so if you follow us on the Twitter at Welcome Music Pod, we've got a whole thread there of some of our favorite guests over the past couple of years. Not all of them, but just a sprinkling of some of our favorite guests. Do you have any favorites? Do you have anyone in particular that comes to mind that you just enjoyed their chat?
It's always good to sit down with Biff, period.
Yeah.
Again, Sass was hilarious. We haven't laughed that hard. There's been a ton, and a lot of younger artists as well.
Yeah,
we've chatted with over the years.
We have recorded more Zoom interviews just because of when this podcast got started than live interviews. So I really miss the live ones. And so, I remember when we sat down with Sate. Soon after, we saw her in concert at the Horseshoe Tavern.
Yes.
And that was a great chat. And I think because it was, I remember that one because it was live in person with her.
Yep.
But I'm just thinking of even, speaking with, excuse me, I know we have a mute button here, but I apologize. Kendall
Osborne.
Love chatting with her. And I just think back, man, if that was in person, how much better would I have enjoyed that chat? But I am thankful for this. Special congrats also to Zenosol for her Juno nomination.
Yes.
She was a past a guest as well this past year.
The Ocon chat was amazing, and they won a Juno last year.
Oh my goodness. That, Greg, they are the most popular guest of ours.
Really?
No, I think, yeah, we've gotten more listens on that episode than any of our other episodes. Which goes to show the global popularity of that group.
Yep.
And I just love them. And they were our first live perform. Well, they were the first guest that on request performed for us.
That's true.
And that started a tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were the first.
Yeah, we asked most of our guests if they would like to perform now.
Yes.
Because of just being serenaded by them.
Yep. A very insightful conversation with Angel Barbeau. Barbeau?
Yes.
I mean, just...
Yeah, that was a great chat.
First Nations life. And
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's get to our show, Greg.
All right. That's the pre-show.
That's the pre-show.
I stole your line.
Okay.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery, the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find them at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
Vin, it would not be... I have to ask you this. You could tell me that you can't answer because we are recording. Who were you talking to about the catalog stuff?
Oh no, that's a different company.
Okay, all right, okay. All right.
He was hoping it was going to be Neil Young's catalog that you were buying off of the last buyer, and then
right.
Then he was going to geek out, and the whole hour would be about Neil Young. But
I'm just fascinated about all of these. Did we talk about it last week, Greg? We talked about all these people are selling their catalogs and why they're doing it and what does it mean to the industry, if it means anything at all, or what does it mean to these artists outside of all the cash they're going to get now?
Right.
So it's fascinating. Vin Brown, Greg Carron, thank you so much for joining us today on Welcome to the Music. All about NFTs, all about the metaverse. When I jumped on a call with Greg, I can't remember, Greg, if somebody told me that I should call you or whether I just saw stuff you were posting. And I said, I just better call Greg because he seems to be on the bleeding edge of everything technology-wise. And we just had a fascinating 15, 20-minute call. And I said, okay, we need to get this on tape. But first off, let me ask you this. Why did it make sense, Vin, for you and your brand, the Naughty brand and everything, to get into this space? Why does it make sense for you guys?
Well, it made sense way back in 1994. I mean, I was an early adapter of websites and the internet. And, we came out in 1991. Everything was analog, cassettes, vinyl, and eventually CDs. So when the web came about, and I understood that www meant worldwideweb.naughtybynature.com, I realized that we had our own international TV station, although the fastest modem was 14.4 kilobits per second back then, So I understood the potential of the global reach, and we could go direct to consumer with that. So with that being said, we put up a retail store in 1994. And around 96, I put up two websites, naughtybynature.com and naughtygear.com, that service that store. But at the time, no one was spending money over the credit cards or what have you, but we did have the cassettes and CD pullouts that if you had the physical copy of the album, you could rip it off, check off what you want, send a check and money order to the store. We would fulfill that order. But as digital became, more robust or more mature, people started spending their money directly over the internet, directly over the website with credit cards. Fast forward, social media came about. And now, just because you have a website, people would have to specifically be looking for you. And now with these social media platforms, you could join the masses and then direct them to your website. So it was a good way to get traffic over there. Now, you fast forward, we're getting into, I guess, Web 3.0. And with metaverses and NFTs and, the expansion of what's going on, it's really an extension of what I've been invested in since 94. So that's why as a OG in the game, it's easy for me to get this new technology. So it's not like I'm onboarding now in the last few years. I've been doing this since 94.
Was it a simple leap? Like it just made sense? Like, did you understand it right away, or was it a thing where, well, I've been betting on this since the early 90s. Let me just continue on this path?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy for me to, to get. And that I think that's one of the benefits of the partnership Gregg and I has. He's really technically sound in what he's doing. And I'm good at, because we've been hands-on with our band, just like any other garage band, you start in the garage and you go out to all of the clubs, you got to bust your butt to find the people. But with the partnership Gregg and I have, with the tech piece, he's able to explain it to me, and it's easy for me to adopt because all I'm looking to do is to extend that direct-to-consumer relationship and, extend the reach and bring in more people.
Yeah. And the e-commerce kind of that where it kind of started too. Like we've worked together for over 10 years now. So in different software and different kind of apps, we did a Google TV app. We've done multiple kind of mobile apps kind of together, and we've done all the web work. So I've done everything in the back end and handled a lot of started with their marketing. But then once we got into e-commerce and that Shopify, like once we found Shopify, we could really focus. Then it was all the advertising. So Vin could take all of his, personality on kind of stage and in front of the camera, and we just kill. And just the type of ads that we were making were just really resonating. And I was deep into like learning a lot of really advanced kind of, ads in Facebook, kind of, and Instagram was really big a few years ago. So we just kind of ramped that up and we're able to kind of really crush in that whole merch kind of apparel, really kind of add social with kind of e-com and really mix that in. And that kind of led us into, okay, well, where else can we, get fans? Where else can we kind of bring, what other platforms? We're always looking at platforms. And that's when kind of, I've been into blockchain and kind of crypto for years. So I kind of knew NFTs. And then when Vin's like, yo, we can kind of, and then it was alt space. Alt space is where it started, right? So we'll get into that.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue, because I need you to treat me like I'm an idiot.
Sure.
And I think we really need to, particularly, not just for myself, but for the people listening, but mostly for myself, like really sort of level set, and I have said it, I firmly believe that NFTs today are not going to be what NFTs are in a year or two from now. I also believe that NFTs can be a saving grace for a lot of artists and musicians. But can we explain why really NFTs are not one of 8,000 variants on a cartoon monkey with lasers shooting out of its eyes? Like what are we talking about? Because that's what we were just talking with somebody about it today as we we're getting ready for this. And it's like, that's what I see it as now. I recognize that's not what it's going to be, right. But like, what are we talking about here?
Right. Well, I'll just kick it off with it starts off with these NFTs can be anything you really want them to be. Mm-hmm. Like if you're creative and you're a developer, or somebody that you got to remember, these are contracts, right? They're tokens, but they're written as a smart contract on Ethereum or on these other blockchains. So the fact that, you can put whatever you want in these contracts. So any kind of tricks, or tricks meaning like if you sell this, you can buy, if you buy an NFT, then we can ship you the shoes, or there's a lot of kind of different ways that you can strategize about how you structure your kind of NFTs. So what the media and what a lot of people are seeing now are these art collections. So the, Bored Apes and kind of these variant, 10,000 collections or whatever it is. But a lot of those, like some of those projects don't have any utility behind it. And that's kind of where, a lot of the research we've done is, behind the utility of some of the music stuff. So we saw like Kings of Leon, and we saw like Deadmau5 and kind of other ones released on different platforms. You got to remember, a lot of these platforms are spinning up and then just pitching, we'll sell your NFTs on but there's no real like structure behind like what Gary Vee and kind of those guys are doing, where, so we have, the NFTs that we did where their utility to a vault, right? Like you actually have them as a key. So these NFTs can be just key access to, exclusive content, exclusive access. And that's kind of one way where we kind of pitch that whole, the music angle. And it wasn't just art. There is an art element, but there's different ways.
And again, I was just using that as an example, being facetious dick on that.
That's where I think we're going to see a lot of different vertical markets integrate these NFTs, like lawyers and real estate, and kind of you'll get out of that art kind of aspect. But, for music on our side, like that's kind of Vin, if you want to talk about how we started with kind of Near and kind of how that all worked.
Yeah. Well, and again, for me, understanding what an NFT is, with the way they rolled it out and just blurred the lines, it really got so many people confused, But basically, an NFT is a ticket. It is an item. But now, since you have the blockchain, it's really tied to the blockchain and its digital verification of ownership, right? So for us, it's like a digital fan club, but now there's another step to verify it, and that is by the blockchain. So if I sold you an annual pass to a Naughty by Nature fan club, then you're purchasing that NFT. And it can be in the form of a piece of art, and or if it's an album. One thing that streaming did, got rid of the album. I mean, we're all of age, and I see everything behind the brother there, Karim, when you bought an album or you bought a CD, one of the most exciting parts was turning around the back, for one, looking at the art itself, like, wow, this album cover is great. Who made this? Blah, blah, blah. The photography is awesome, or, the post editing is awesome. Then you get to turn around and see which record label it was, or who's the A&R, who was the producer, the songwriter. We've taken that away because of, streaming. But now with NFTs and that art, you could reintroduce that. So now if you have digital music, you could have the digital art with it, tie it to the blockchain. And now with what we're doing, we're tying it to the fan club. So if you buy our NFT, it will unlock to a content vault. And throughout the year, you as being a member, you as being down with us and owning these NFTs, we could always dump new content, new art, perks, discount codes to our merch store, special pop-up events, So membership is like American Express. Membership has its privileges. So, and the thing that we did is we wanted to take our time and not just start monetizing it immediately, right? We're about to go on a 57 arena tour this summer with New Kids on the Block, Salt and Pepper, and Vogue. So what we want to do is just start onboarding people and educating them to what an NFT is. So we're giving away 500 NFTs just so people could be familiar with, signing up to the platform where we're on, the Near platform, and, claiming their NFT. It will be minted, and then having that NFT as a token to unlock that content vault. So as we go about on tour and we open up and give more and more NFTs, we'll eventually have 3,000 people who are NFT owners dump content to it, and then we'll get more sophisticated with our NFT offerings and eventually start selling. But we're taking the slow road so we can educate our fan base, our average fan. I know a lot of crypto guys and a lot of guys who are into blockchain, they get it and they're having a free for all. But for us, it would, be kind of silly for us to think that what we see in the press and what these guys are doing, oh, this guy made 2 million, 3 million, whatever, thinking that it's going to translate to our average layman audience who they don't own crypto. They don't have Coinbase. They don't have MetaMask. So we're going to take the time to educate them in what we're doing.
And I think what you brought up there is really important too, because again, the perception is, I saw one the other day, and again, it was a version of the Bored Ape or whatever. And it was like, and there's one of 10,000 that's starting at 5 Ethereum. Right. And it's like, that's great. So somebody that doesn't know goes 5 Ethereum. I think what's that, 13,000 or something right now, or 33,000. I don't even know. I honestly don't know. Whatever it is, right. Like how does the industry, as an artist, how do marketers, bring this to the level of somebody that has the money to spend $20 on a, right, or maybe not 20, say $40, $60 for a reasonable amount that the hardworking person can afford versus the version of the Bored Ape going for $33,000 or whatever.
Yeah. So I have a good explanation of that. Like, just the market decides these prices, guys. Like, it's just like stocks. So the fact that the Bored Ape is going for hundreds of thousands is because it's an exclusive project. It was released before all the other ones. It was they got celebrities on. So there's reasons for that price. But to get to your point, to get to the $20, $40, see, the thing with Ethereum is there's fees on Ethereum. Every time you do a transaction, there's all these gas fees everybody talks about. And sometimes when there's a lot of network traffic, those gas fees can be quite high. So you actually have a hard time buying anything that's, $50 or $40. It just ends up being more. And the fact that you have to, buy that crypto, move that crypto, and then no MetaMask, and like Vin was saying. So we looked for other blockchains that were just more user-friendly, right? So there's one called Near. Near is the blockchain that we kind of picked, where it's a couple guys from Google. They got together and they started building proof of stake. So it works. All the fees are really low. And they worked with a company called Satori. And Satori was able to work with us and, mint these free NFTs that anybody can claim. All our fans can claim. But the process, gentlemen, was amazing. Like, with a nice QR code, you scan it or you click a link. Link gets in your email and it's create a wallet all on your phone. And then instantly you have this NFT. It was a 3D version of a cool kind of cube spinning slugga, but they got that for free. And we used that code to be able to unlock these vaults that Ben was speaking of. So we found a pathway that was least, no friction. And when we actually do monetize them, they can use a credit card. So there's a lot of these third-party ones that are doing MoonPay, that are integrating with the blockchain, integrating with people's everyday kind of you want it to be the PayPal of crypto, right? So that's kind of their kind of angle. And so we were able to, and give away all these, but like Vin said, it grew that trust to where when we do make videos of speaking on blockchain and how we've made videos explaining to the fans. I don't see any other artists, these other, I just don't see them making the videos. It's you have to teach, you've got to educate so that you can onboard and then you can add value. And that's
and that's the thing I realize as an artist, that I'm looking at, I understand what Snoop is doing and what a couple other people are doing. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's good for them. And they have a team and, their team is doing their due diligence. But for us, and because we work so closely with our fan base, I personally understand how volatile crypto is and the gas fees Greg, is explaining. And as he educates me, I'm like, you know what? We're not in a rush for this cash grab that everyone else is doing. We're paying attention to our fan base, our market, and we want to onboard these people slowly but surely. And we want the path of least resistance so we can continue and stabilize and maintain the trust that we do have with our customer base. So I'm like, well, listen, as they regulate, crypto, as these exchanges get more regulated and governments get more involved, although the purists in the decentralized world don't like that, for me, I understand being responsible to my fan base and customer base. I would like some kind of regulation, some kind of stability. So when my fans, and I point fans into buying crypto and their wallet gets hacked and they can't recover anything, they're like, yo, Vin, what did you onboard me with? Sure. This is some big old scam. So again, for us, it's not about what everyone else is doing out there. It's for us doing our due diligence, educating, and moving according to what's best for us and what's going to keep our integrity with our fan base and customer base.
It's almost like you've been, like you said, Vin, off the top, it really started in the early 90s. And this is just a continuation. So it's not like, oh, here's something new that I could hop on and ride the rocket to the top. It's like, it's just another iteration of the web that allows you and your brands to continue communicating and engaging with your fan base.
Yes, and it's a more intimate relationship, because the better you're able to log and ledger and track these people, again, you have their information and people are trusting you with that information. So, that's a really intimate relationship. And with all of this, quote unquote, independence and independent music artists, a lot of them want to be independent, but they don't want to do the work to really nurture and curate that relationship with their fan base. And this is what this technology does. It's what it's always done. It's just a matter of who's going to be lazy about it and who's going for the cash grab. So again, this is what we're doing. And again, with the relationship with Gregg, I'm able to explain it to my bandmates and future bandmates. So it's a slower walk, but it's going to benefit way more down the line.
That's amazing. I'm really interested in this, the path that you took. So, as before, Facebook changed their name, and you're seeing stuff, that's going on with TikTok and Snapchat in terms of the AR that they're utilizing to engage with their user base. What were some of the first steps that you guys took in terms of, taking the Naughty brand and the Slugger brand into this new Web 3.0 world?
Oh, wow. That was pretty crazy because Gregg has been telling me for a few years,
A few years?
Yeah. A few years to get into VR. And then I have another friend, Laura Mingale. She's been heavy into VR. She got into it about 2015. I remember she took me up to the Toronto Film Festival to this VR, like they had a whole VR gallery and you could put on headsets and try out different things. She sent me a picture from 2016. So I remember having a headset at first where you had to put the Galaxy Gear, where you put your phone inside the headset. So I was like, yeah, that's a little novelty. And I was like, I put it down and kind of walked away from it. But Gregg had headsets and he's like, Vin, as we're going on, you got to get into VR, And then again, between Gregg and Laura, they were like, Vin, come into VR. And then I bought my first Oculus Quest 2 headset. From there, once I got immersed in the world and then saw in particular VR chat and AltSpace VR, I was like, oh, wow. Now that you're fully immersed in this world and it's a social platform, I get this. And this is like another dimension. And hell yeah, you could build a lot without physically building a lot. And this is the ultimate place to engage your fans.
Yeah, so back in like 15, 16, that Oculus came out with that DK1. So I had access to like the first prototype that Oculus kind of gave out. So once I hit that headset, I was like, all right, so like, how do you make this? How do you develop? And I was at Bean Oceans back then. So I was showing all those and we were into Unity. And so we were already working with Unity. So to me, it was like Unity and start learning how to do 3D model. And then it just kind of built. And I'm like, what brand am I close to that we could develop a project? And Vin was always that go-to guy. I could always get him pumped. I could always show him some tech and get him all riled up and say, yo, we can build a whole world. And then we got into alt space. Once we found that social kind of place that we could do events. See, and alt space is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft does not play when it comes to cloud infrastructure, when it comes to security, when it comes to identity, when it comes to a lot of that. So the infrastructure they had built was like, they had front row technology. They were syncing all these rooms and kind of, you could build a world within kind of the app. And I was like, all right, what's going on? It's in all these world builders. So we actually connected with our, with a good friend and good kind of, her name's Artsy. And she was a digital architect kind of designer, just started a couple of years ago, who taught herself everything. And she's designing these worlds. And we're like, whoa. So we put together a team and we brainstormed and now we have what's called an Illtown Island, which is a universe that is comprised of 8 individual worlds. So not just Vin's like, yo, we can't just have one world. They said it's too big. He's like, divide it up. So we divided it up into like a rooftop lounge, an NFT and art kind of gallery. We have a basketball court. We have a studio. We have a full studio that we built. We have a podcast kind of room. Then we have like, and then the other one is like our main lobby. So the way that we looked at this was like an artist kind of museum, right? It was like their naughty kind of Illtown, just their museum. And we put a lot of interactables. It's a development of it. It's not just kind of the look of everything, which is amazing. It's how you interact with things in the world, right? Different information. Did we put a lot of art and a lot of history of Naughty and all their Grammys and kind of everything. So it was quite when we bring like executives and different peers kind of in the industry, we bring them in these like walk through our worlds. They're just blown away. They've never seen nothing like it. Because people can build these worlds and it can be fun and have events. But when Illtown Sluggers did it, when we hooked up with Microsoft and they gave us holoportation. They gave us different technology to be able to beam. They sent us a whole video equipment in New Jersey. So we have events where they're all video and on a green screen. And that content is included in VR and it's all kind of holograms. Well, once we found that technology, it was done, right, Vin? Like it was. Yeah.
and the beauty about, alt space VR, and once I got inside, and I understand what they're doing in Sandbox and Decentraland, you're buying your real estate, you're building, and you're monetizing from it. So, in this, it's more social and it's not as monetizable yet. But I understood it's like, you know what? Well, wow, you could build this virtual mansion and you could build these worlds. So to me, it was like Elvis Presley's Graceland or Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch or, the White House. I likened it to Disneyland. So I'm like, wow, well, you don't need $100 million to build this crazy facility for people to come to. Now you can build it virtually for pennies on a dollar. And I'm looking at it as our virtual museum. So now instead of us worrying about, the record labels or the historians, skipping over us and people like, oh, we don't get our just due. It's like you could build these worlds and you could literally curate your own museum and you could tell your own story. So not only can you tell your own story, but now these spaces will be monetized where by way of subscription, by way of having a pass, people could come into your museum. They could buy merchandise, digital wearables. They could come in. However you program these spaces with a podcast room. One of our guys loves sports, so we have KG host a sports podcast from there. All of our ticketed events, and this is where Microsoft is really supporting us. As Greg mentioned, they sent us a holoportation kit, so we've been banging out free holoportation concerts. And we actually did a fashion show because we displayed the merchandise that we'll be selling direct to consumer during this tour we're leaving for in May. So we had a fashion show just to introduce the merch to the tour we're taking off on. And then, had a mini concert in support of it, and then gave away another 250 free NFTs. So the way we're doing this is it's a freemium model and certain elements are monetized outside of the space. But yes, this is how we're using these spaces just to really engage the fans, man, and make that relationship more intimate.
That's interesting, because that's the first time that I've heard the use of the term freemium model when it came to this space.
Right.
Like that's really interesting, because again, that is a way, obviously, to get somebody in. And I think about even your free NFTs. I mean, it is a freemium model.
And a way to integrate the NFTs into that metaverse, that's kind of that world, right? So that's your ticket to kind of get into whether it's an event. So we can sell specific NFTs that are the keys to these events. And you'll say, well, why would you do that? Well, then you have all these wallet addresses. So these early kind of email, remember the email, get all their emails, and kind of you build these big databases of emails. Mm-hmm. Now it's all about wallet addresses that you can do what's called an airdrop. Have you heard of that? That's where you can just give away NFTs. Like if you have fans and you have them there, like you can provide value and give them NFTs. Everyone's trying to sell all these NFTs and make all this money. We're giving them away, and we're trying to think of other ways to add value, to stack it, so that this metaverse kind of it makes more sense, right? Like I love the worlds and the concerts. So the concerts are crazy. Like it's a hologram in VR, and you can see all the avatars. Everybody's throwing up emojis, and we had a virtual drone that was recording the whole show. So we're actually going to build like a recap video of kind of all that. And then Vin, you want to tell them what you got planned maybe in a few months when we do a certain specific video?
Oh, yeah. Well, for one, Greg will get you some of this content, some of our guy, Samad, you can send them the clip of Samad and performing in VR. So it's like the Tupac hologram performing in front of the animated avatar. So it's really crazy. But what we're going to do in the future, before we leave on tour, we're actually going to shoot a mixed reality music video. So we're going to record in VR with all of our fans, their animated avatars. And then our DJ Slugger, he's a character, mascot like Marshmallow. He has the bear head. We're going to shoot him in reality, but then we're bringing him into VR, and he has his own custom avatar, and we're going to blend the two, mixed reality. So this is what we're doing as 50-year-olds going out on this middle-aged tour, soccer mom tour. So we're going to show them that the old geezers still are up on the technology. So we're going to make sure we keep it interesting for them and futuristic.
That's awesome.
This is fascinating, like totally fascinating. So I'm thinking in my head, because I'm trying to relate to it, and I'm thinking, just remember the movie Ready Player One. The guy might live in a stack of these old cars, but he puts those goggles on, and boom, he's in that. And that's what I'm thinking of when you're talking about these concerts and stuff. I'm thinking about this is what it's like. Am I on the right? Yeah. Am I thinking of this correctly?
You're absolutely right, because Sandbox and Decentraland, those are really two-dimensional, because you use them on your laptop and on your computer, right? It's like a video game. But in VR, you put on those headsets, it's literally another dimension. So you're going in there and it's really, really trippy, man. It's like we're here in person. And it's just a better experience for me. And some people like VR, some people don't. But for me, in doing what I've been doing since '94, I'm like, nah, this is where it is. Because, it's literally another dimension, man. And
it's really funny. You see, in real life, how people gather around kind of celebs and bit. And when he's in VR, you see all the different avatars come around, and he's like, we can take selfies, you can take photos. So we actually took the Slugger chair from the tour in the real world, made it digital as an asset. And then people were lining up we're like, hey, there's all these worlds. So we were synchronized, and it's a different type of fan engagement. And then people didn't understand it was live. Some people were like, is this pre-recorded? They're used to that experience on, let's say, Facebook Meta Horizons and other concert platforms are just a 2D pre-recorded image. Like you're in VR, but it's like watching Netflix in VR. What we do is way different. Like we put holograms in a 3D environment, so you can actually go around the stage and hook up, and it's wild. And we're working on developing some interactions. Imagine as a concert, like Vin's good at like managing 50,000 people in a wave. We want to be able to ask the fans, what do you want us to play next? And in a normal concert in the real world, you can't ask that. No one's going to answer. Like they can yell, but in the world, in the metaverse, they can. So they can have something come up in front of them. They can pick, I want this favorite song. He can see the stats and he can play the next song.
Polling the audience.
Yeah, there's different ways. You gotta open up your mind to like how we can interact with these fans. And so we were telling them, no, this is live. That's really Vin Rock. There's DJ KG and here's Slugga. So they were, all right, it's a whole different world.
This is crazy. Greg, I don't know if you noticed that when you said, you go into these VR spaces and you hook up, the other Greg got excited at that term hookup. So he's very excited. He's very excited about that. I'm guessing
people definitely hook up in VR. Definitely.
Oh, damn. Oh, my goodness gracious. No, this is amazing. Vin, when you're talking about how you love this, I'm thinking, my knees are starting to hurt with this age as I'm getting older. I'm guessing, Vin, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff when you're in these sort of virtual worlds doing a show.
Well, the only thing is, we're holoporting, but if we have on the headset, you can tend to get a little nauseous if not.
Start dancing around. Yeah, I start partying too much, but yeah.
Yeah. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about that. Hey, you don't have to worry about anyone groping you or accusing you of God knows what. So,
well, they actually implemented both Meta and I got to give them both Meta and Microsoft implemented what's called a bubble. So you have these bubbles kind of around you and they kind of serve as more of for protection stuff. It was you got to remember, these are social kind of open kind of platforms. So there's a lot of kids sometimes and a lot of older and a lot of women and obviously. And so it's just for a safety part, there's safety digital ways of kind of protection, which is
interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Tell me more about, and maybe this is a dumb question. Tell me about this Microsoft partnership. Tell me about, if you can, like you talked about this. What is it? The holoportation?
Holoportation.
Holoportation.
Yes.
Like, what the heck is this stuff?
Well, the thing is that our relationship with Microsoft, again, our dear friend Laura, she was actually working for Microsoft, and one of the executives who heads up AltSpace VR, they set up a meeting with us. So again, once I was able to explain to Microsoft my concept of how I would use the space by building my virtual museum and ticketed events and all of this stuff, they were like, wow, this kid totally gets it. And then I had Gregg, who could do the deep dive on the tech talk. They're like, you know what? These are the partners we're looking for. So as you finish in your build, we have this holoportation technology that, you could use it to do podcasts with, you could use it to do concerts with, fashion shows, whatever you see fit. And they kind of knew we understood what to do with it and how to do it. So they sent us a holoportation kit, which few people have. This is something that mass adoption, and it gives us a chance to do unique events in VR. So yeah, because they understood that we understood what we were doing, they lent us the technology. So we did 2 holoportation events, which what people is, if you don't understand what holoportation is, just think of the Tupac hologram, so it's like, he's really there, but Tupac died. But this technology, we're really there looking like this, but everyone else are animated avatars. So once again, we'll send you some of our footage and you'll get to see how it actually works. And it's really great. But, in a nutshell, yes, Microsoft lent their support to us. They lent that equipment to us. And with that being said, we're able to have a more unique experience and unique events in our worlds.
Yeah, we did all the research of like what platforms are out there, who's doing live events. And you got to remember, like, the stuff with like Travis Scott and, you know, like Roblox or Fortnite and kind of those are big deals. Those are big platforms and those are bigger players. So we needed some, you know, a company that is providing Alt Space is free. Like, you can go in and make an event and host many events. And so but for us, it was the extra equipment, the extra technology allowed us to kind of expand and get a lot of press for it. Get a lot more, expand a lot more, because look, we made these videos. Once we sent the videos back to Microsoft of our kind of event, and they sent that around to they're excited. They're excited to kind of help more and lend more support. And you got to we're looking at this tech as, you know, there's stuff with motion capture, with 3D. Like, you got to remember, this is all 180. It's holograms. So as you kind of turn, you're not going to get it's not full 3D capture yet. Right? In the future, there are technologies, obviously, with motion capture, like the movies. Well, now, like, it's going to come to the consumers more, to where so Vin and I are going to put on these virtual concerts for fans, you know, whether it's with Naughty and Illtown and possibly other artists that come in, and we can build a metaverse world and then have a concert for them in digital, and they promote it to all their fans. And it's a unique, new, cutting edge way to kind of promote, you know, your songs and kind of your brand, like all the artists.
Yeah. So what's happening is that we're developing into a full-blown, you know, virtual production company, because we have the established brand Naughty by Nature and what we're doing, the established startup with Old Town Sluggers. But, you know, we're doing case studies now. So we're able to set these things up, push out these shows, you know, really impress Microsoft. But now I can onboard my peers. You know, I just happen to see Salt from Salt and Pepper today in the studio. We have tons of guys, Rob Bass, you know, they hit me up. And as all of my industry peers see what I'm doing, they're actually hitting me up. Yo, Vin, how can I be down? So we'll be able to produce events for them, not only our veteran acts, but our up and coming acts who are working with us on our Slugger project.
That's a great segue, because what I wanted to ask was, and Greg, you mentioned some free platforms. Like, how doable, or maybe it's what's doable for an up and coming artist within this space? You know what I mean? Like, because we're talking about big productions here up to this point. Yeah. But like, I'm a young artist out of Northern Ontario. How do I leverage this? Perfect. So yeah, like he's exactly right. Like, there are levels to it. But these are free platforms, like Meta Horizons, like the World Horizons. That's free. That's on the Oculus, and you can learn. And there are people, you got to remember, since this is so new, there are a lot of younger designers and developers on these platforms. So for an artist, a young artist, go on Facebook groups. Go and find these Horizon kind of groups and go in there and say, hey, you're going to find tons of designers that can go and help you and build you a whole world. And then you can put on an event like us. You could go into, and you can, there's other ways of putting on events, guys. You know, you can be in VR and sing, or you could do the broadcast, right? The stream. Go ahead, Vin.
Well, I can interject. And for the average artist who wants to get into this space, you know, if you get a headset and you sign up for Alt Space VR, there are open mics every night virtually. You know, if you're a stand-up comedian and you want to get your chops, there are open mics for comedians there. You go in these rooms and you sign up, they let you go on. And these are established places. They have, you know, these virtual cafes, these virtual comedy clubs, these virtual open mic venues. And before you even think about building anything in the space, you can go in there just like you went into a regular open mic night, you know? And then the better you are, you find fans there. And then the more you participate in the space and the more you meet other people, then you can start to build out your worlds and build out your spaces and, you know, have people gravitate towards you.
Time out. You're telling me that movie I saw a couple of years ago, Ready Player One, like that's now.
That's very much.
Yeah, that's now.
Okay. Well, okay, I'll break that down.
No, wait. Now, I'm not saying that
there's levels of it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So you got to remember, one of the metrics everybody's looking at is how many users are actually live in a VR world with you. Okay, that's important. And like, what platform are we talking about? Are we talking about Oculus Quest, which is a mobile platform? Or are we talking about Xbox or something that can have millions of kind of people on it, like Fortnite? So there's a difference, right? So when they say metaverse and they say Ready Player One, that's way in the future where the infrastructure is there to have. And you got to remember it's all about, did Apple release the glasses? Who's doing the contact lenses? This technology has to grow for the big vision of a persistent, live, 24/7 commerce driven, gaming driven metaverse, like that big world. So all we're doing now is baby steps, and all we're doing now is little pieces of the puzzle. Now, what we're talking about is a metaverse, but it's more of a social VR. And then when they move, when all these companies build out their kind of meta, like when Meta actually fruition to where you have a home and you can buy NFTs and integrate it into your home and all that, that's a little while off, but that'll be more of a, like you said, it'll be more of a Ready Player One kind of world. But to now, you can go and play games with thousands of people. Like you can go interact and you can build your worlds, and it's amazing what you can actually get away with now.
Where have I been? Sorry, Greg, you wanted to ask some questions.
Well, I have a couple of questions, again, along the same lines in terms of young artists. So, Greg, you mentioned earlier about, you have all these platforms coming online now. Hey, come on over here, come on over here. And one of the things, because I actually I saw a Facebook ad, and maybe because I was doing research, as we got ready for this, but it's like, hey, post your music. And I went on, it's like, watch this webinar. And I'm like, and people are like, oh, and then I got to sign up for it. I got to pay. So like how are young artists that don't have the support that you guys have, Vin, you have support, and Greg, you was providing support. Like, how are young artists supposed to watch from getting caught with the snake oil salesman? Because this isn't like you get a lawyer, you get a publisher, you sign a record contract anymore. Now all of a sudden it's like, I'm signing up for a webinar, I'm paying this money and.
So it just goes back to, you got to learn, do your own research. Or if you're not that tech savvy, you got to find that geek friend. You got to have that friend that can steer you away. Like I do that for Vin, like on the deep level stuff, obviously surface level, no problem. But if it gets really deep and another company wants to talk to us about specific blockchain and deep, then we take that. But I'll vet those for him. So it's if an artist doesn't have that tech knowledge, and some of it's just YouTube, right? Watching it so that they know, you got to watch some of these companies. Like there's lots of platforms, there's lots of blockchain. And the thing with scams and NFTs and that, it can get in depth. Like these wallets, it's like, it's a wallet, it's a bank. So I can go in and it's all about social engineering. I can tell you, I'm from support. I'm from Naughty by Nature NFT support. Please give me your private key and I will give you the NFT that you didn't get. Man, there's ways of replicating websites. Like it can get deep. So you need someone on your team. That's my best advice. Let them learn a little bit and then have somebody on their team that can move them away from. But you can build a lot of this yourself, right? Like a lot of times, like it's just like the labels that Vin's been dealing with, 30, 40 years. It's all these labels like, we'll help you. We'll give you money. We'll run your NFT project for you. We'll do all this. Now we're seeing like, if you're independent, you got to put together a small little tech team that can kind of do it yourselves and build the ownership, and the value that you're going to keep is just now we know, right? And Vin can attest to that.
Well, and that's the thing as well. I tell a lot of people, I mean, you know where to find the next pair of Jordans or the Supreme sneakers or you know how to do all of that. But when it comes to this space, you really need to align yourself with a tech savvy person, and it's not so far away. There's always someone in your neighborhood or in your ecosystem who you can get access to, a guy like Greg, and that's what I chose to invest in and partner up with Greg over 10 years ago now. Some people just like to hang with the homies and they bring absolutely nothing to the table. Those guys aren't even assets. Those are liabilities in your life. So it's about life choices. And then when you get with someone like Greg, it's not all about the cash grab, because again, we didn't run out here and just automatically start selling NFTs because it was the buzzword and we have a 30-year brand. It's like, no. we're going to do the deep dive and really understand what this thing is and how it's tied to crypto and, the gas fees and what these coins are and everything. And we're taking our time. But as we're taking our time, we're seeing other celebrities get caught up in pump and dump scams. And, some celebrities, I did this project, and then it goes away and you've never heard of them or the project again. So we choose to approach this a different way. So all the young up and coming artists, you really got to just follow an example like us.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, another good one would be, there's a lot of new kind of artists in this NFT kind of space, right? Like a lot of younger artists that are good. It'd be good for a musician to collab with one of them and kind of hit them up and say, let's do a project together. You're trying to do this art kind of NFTs. I'm going to provide some new music, and we're going to sell to both of our market together, collab together, and actually pitch their fans and say, look, like we built, and there are platforms. If you go out there, one's called Mintgate. Mintgate's a really good one where you can make some NFTs and they'll get all the code so that you can gate, maybe a video or maybe a website or like a folder that has a bunch of info. So for a young artist, like coming up, it's like, you want to know about NFTs and music and art, go on some of these NFT groups on Facebook, or go in Clubhouse, or go on Twitter Spaces. That's where all this stuff's happening. Go in one of those and listen for a bit. Spend a few hours listening to NFT artists talk about, if I had a musician right now, I would merge the music with the music, and you can integrate the art. There's ways of creatively doing that could give them some buzz or give them experience in this space. You got to get your hands dirty. Okay, there's no other way of doing this. Like, you got to jump in and you got to learn. You got to learn some stuff. So young artists can absolutely do it.
It's almost like the early days of social, right? Where it's like, how do I get it? Do I just tell people what I had for breakfast on Twitter, or is there more to it? Why should I, share pictures on Instagram? I don't get it. And it's like, you gotta, maybe there wasn't you didn't need to have goggles, but yeah, you still needed to have a decent smartphone, to make it work properly. And then it was just learning on how do I, upload my music video, or 10 seconds of me playing the guitar, and, how do I engage? What hashtags do I use? Who should I follow? And there was a learning curve. Right. To all of that. And I think, based on this almost 1 hour conversation, it's like, there's these free sites. Get yourself a decent pair of goggles, headset that'll work on these sites, and then just play and learn.
Exactly.
Show up and learn.
Exactly. And then, just for everyone, there's so many different verticals out there, so many different careers out there. And like you said, you use these tools and figure out how it best suits you and your business, or how it best suits you and your social life. And you take your time, man, and it's a learning curve. And then you use it to your advantage, how you see fit.
One of the virtual concerts for a young artist, like having a virtual concert once a week. The artist named Russ? You've heard of that hip hop artist, Russ? No. Yeah, go do YouTube and learn about Russ, RUSS. And watch him kind of how he got in that hip hop game, where released a song every week, and do that for a year, and do that for a year and a half. So there's grinds that you can do as these artists. You got to get into the metaverse and start doing virtual shows every week. Start singing. Just like Vin said, go into that mic and kind of those rooms, or have your own world. Have somebody help you make a world and start hosting. It'll grow. It'll grow just like your social media following, just like anything else. That interaction will grow, and you'll learn, because it's coming. It's not going away. Doesn't need to go
not going away.
We're gonna have a welcome to the music world on Alt Space VR.
Right.
We'll play. You guys have a good podcast,
Powered by Lil Sluggus.
We could invite you to our podcast. You could also actually host Rain the World.
Let's set that up.
Metaverse.
We don't have too much time. This has been amazing. Greg, I think you had a question. that you wanted to ask?
It was actually a question from somebody who wanted to ask you guys a question. Sure. And again, it's not. I was not going to ask it because I've asked a couple of like sort of not adversarial questions, but questions around Anyway, so Natalie Muir, who wanted to know your view on, and this is more for the people that artists that aren't necessarily into it yet or aren't ready to get into it yet. She wanted to know how the future or what's going to protect artists. What's the future of NFT to protect artists from what right now she sees as the rampant digital theft and minting that's happening, whether it's visual art or music art. And she wants to know how is that going to be, how are young artists going to be protected when it comes to that?
Well, that's why I'm a big advocate of some kind of centralization. What you're describing is strictly in a decentralized metaverse, and I feel that way. And this is why I don't want my fan base diving into that space and they don't really understand it and it's not as regulated. So again, this is why I'm taking my time and I'm trusting that the community at large works with, the tech community at large works with government and come up with some kind of solution where there is some sort of regulation, there is some sort of protection, and, you won't get scammed and you won't get hacked and you won't, get your stuff stolen from you. Because that's exactly what is going on. And, because it's the buzzword and because everyone is running into the space, just like anything else, the thieves are waiting. They're definitely waiting. So you definitely have to protect yourself.
So this is a two-headed dragon. Okay. It really is, because it gets down to where, like, yes, we want regulation and kind of like safety nets and kind of all this. But the core of Web3, a lot of that is that direct, where it's decentralized, where I own the keys and I protect, and you can't get shut off by PayPal. You can't get shut off the platform. So a lot of this comes down to, it's all about credibility. Okay. It's all about when I'm an artist and I have a verified blue check account, or my fans need to know that they're buying it from me. Only click. It's just, Greg, a lot of this is like, some of this is just cybersecurity kind of stuff where it's don't connect your wallet to sites that you don't even know, that you only connect to one's platforms that artist said that I'm on. Like I would tell my fans, go on OpenSea, go on Foundation. I'm only there, or have a link and tell everybody, only click on the link that's in my IG profile. So as simple as kind of stuff like that, then it's about the fans learning their lesson and everyone learning. Don't click on links in an email. Everyone knows now. Don't click on those banners to sell the old. So it's all about learning, and we can't hold hands. We have to tell people this is education. You learn how to.
Well, what I feel is, as a community, even if it's a decentralized community, right? It's as if we're in the jungle. We're all apes and primates, right? There's going to have to be some kind of order. We have to, if there's 4 of us on this call right now, there's got to be some kind of order. There's got to be some kind of respect. So even in a decentralized world, all of the players in that decentralized world, eventually you're going to have to govern these spaces, right? Even without the government intervention, you're going to have to govern these spaces. You just can't live life without some kind of governance. And that's what I'm banking on happening, or else you literally have the Wild Wild West. You imagine yourself going out in the world and there's no police department, there's no government regulation there. And it's like you walk down the street and life or death. Hey, if somebody knocks you over the head or vice versa and walk away, well, it is what it is, They'll scoop you up and make you roadkill with no recourse. So that's where we're going with this thing. So it's got to be figured out.
Well, and they're trying, right? And the platforms are trying. This is all new. Like blockchain technology, even though like an NFT is verified and immutable, and it is. But what if that NFT is on Ethereum? What if I take that same NFT and I put it on Solana, or I put it on Cardano, or I put it on another of the 1,000 blockchains. So, Greg, there are actually tools that Adobe just released. They just released that a few months ago. Adobe has a tool where it's going to authenticate and verify from your Adobe integrated in the actual art. So there are ways. People are working on ways of protecting artists, of educating artists to protect. A lot of this has to do with social engineering and hacking. A lot of this has to do with people taking, you can take Picasso, right? You can right click Picasso and put it up on a website and say, I'm selling it. And now if somebody buys it, whose fault is that? So there's a learning curve to the buyers. There's a learning curve to the artists, how you work. Don't just mint your stuff on some random website and sell it to your fans. Like Vin said, you have to, bring it into a controlled environment, it's all about trust. Do you trust where you're getting your fans, where you're getting that stuff from? You should educate your fans, give them secure links. And like I said, it's changing. So it's not as easy as it was. And like Vin said, it might get worse. Like we can't promise that it's going to be, everyone has to be safe out there. It's scary, especially with a wallet, with a wallet that has money in it. Like people are draining these wallets left and right because people are connecting their wallets to a minting website to try and get the little egg, the little lion egg with the hair on it. Okay, well, that's your fault for trying to, you have to do your due diligence.
Yeah, it's funny because the example that Natalie used when we were chatting about it was, she said that, or the example she used that a lot of art is being stolen from is DeviantArt, the website. And so apparently there's a lot of theft happening from DeviantArt being minted because, again, it's a very creative site, and people have art that they've had there for 10, 15 years or whatever, a dozen years that they haven't even thought about. All of a sudden the art's getting ripped off, minted, and sold as if it's that person's.
Well, then you go and sell it yourself, and you go tell everybody that you can, that this is the real place to get it, and that there are fakes. You do all your reporting that you can. You tell your social to report it. You can contact those platforms yourself. Hey, it's just like eBay in the old days, right?
Yeah.
Like the old days, that's all it is. I could steal something and put it up on eBay and it's not even mine, and people would buy it. And that's just, so we've had these problems in tech for centuries, for decades.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Now you had eBay, which was the Wild Wild West, but now because it's some sort of regulation there, and there's still unauthorized product up there, but there is some kind of regulation. So there is some sort of security now, as opposed to back in the day.
AI is getting, we all know AI is getting a lot stronger and a lot faster. So I think these AI platforms like YouTube and Google, they have some AI that if you upload a music, they know and they'll take it down, content IDs. So there's going to be these types of systems, Greg, and for art and for these NFTs, and it'll come. It's just very early, I think, early days.
Yep, fair enough.
Vin, Greg, we could probably talk to you for hours on end, but thank you so much for your time. Before we let you go, if people want to check out what you guys are doing in the metaverse and in VR and in AR, where should they go?
Well, for one, you sign up. First of all, get yourself an Oculus Quest 2 headset, because that's the best experience, right? If not, you could download AltSpace VR on your Mac or PC. Just go to altspacevr.com. Once you download the app and get your avatar, then you look up Illtown Island. We have a main code, right? I have to put that code up there.
But they can search for it. Search for it in the worlds. Like you just, so there's events and then there's worlds. And we have multiple worlds. You search for Naughty by Nature or Illtown Sluggas or Slugga, and all of these worlds will come up.
That is awesome. And Greg, you're going to send us a couple of videos, yeah?
Yeah, sure. We'll send you a recap video and what we just did, and just kind of give you an idea of kind of what these holoportation virtual concerts kind of look like. And, and maybe we'll send you guys links to these NFTs. You guys can claim some free NFTs on your phone and just kind of get a sense of what that process looks like. Yeah,
do send it over. Are we okay to use the video on our website and put it in the show here?
Yes. And awesome. As a matter of fact, Greg, Eric just uploaded the fresh recap video with lower audio, because that audio was lower and crunchy.
Yeah. Good
Awesome.
stuff.
This has been fun. Thank you so much
Yes.
for this chat. We really appreciate it. And Matt, looking forward to all the stuff that you guys are doing and the future as well.
That's right. So you guys, now that we have this relationship, so you guys got to hit us up again, probably around August, September, and see where we are. And you're going to watch our growth and progress, all right, in real time.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure to hit you guys up for sure.
All right.
Thank you so much. All the best, guys.
Thanks, gents.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
So basically, we have what we're gonna do. I think everybody is cool to go. If anyone wants to go again, you want to go again? You good? You okay? Everyone knows how to perform. So when we get in tomorrow, we'll get in. This thing is gonna start at like 3:30. So we'll get everybody in at noon. Then we're gonna get settled, dressed, everything. Make sure all of this stuff is up and rocking. And we're gonna make it happen, It's a really big event. You're gonna have a lot of people watching you, man. So I just wanna remind all the performers, give it your all. Give it all of your energy, because you never know who's watching out there, okay? So once again, we about to start this thing in about 20, 30 minutes. And once it's your go, you only get one shot, like Eminem said. So let's rock out, y'all. Represent for Illtown Sluggers.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, yo slugger, here we go, 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 yo slugger, here we go, here we go.
They be like, hey, what you gonna do with your life? Do with your life? Whatever I want, whatever I want. They be like, hey, what you gonna do with your life? Do with your life? Whatever I want, whatever I want.
Getting close to never having words to say. You drove over and don't have no words to say. You don't cling to what you used to cling to. You ain't perfect, no, but you have your way. Now you back home, gotta find your way. No, y'all go way back, that's like that. Feeling yourself, oh, I feel you, boo. You deserve better, baby, and
Tastes like heat.
Give it up for all of the Illtown family, y'all. Give it up, clap it up.
Slugger music.